Hello everyone, welcome to ServiceNow guy. I am Gunjan Kiratkar and today I am starting with the new playlist on the vendor management in the ServiceNow. So basically in this playlist we will discuss few points and those points are introduction regarding the vendor management as well as the plugins and the installation, vendor workspace overview, vendor score and KPIs, as well as how we can use the contract management in the vendor management. So all these points we will cover into this playlist. Basically, we will create the two videos. In the first part, we will cover 3 points, top 3 points, and in the second part, we will cover the vendor score and KPIs as well as how contract management is related in the vendor management. So let's get started with the introduction. So basically in the introduction, we can say what exactly the vendor management is. So within the vendor management, the main point is it is providing us the vendor management workspace, and within that vendor management workspace, we can see that it gives us the ability to view vendor profile and manage the performance of your company's vendor in unified location. Within the one view, you can see all the vendors, their performance, and everything. The second point is analyze historical vendor health using comprehensive layout of all information related to the vendor and its services. So if we open any vendor within that list, then we can get all the information regarding their services, regarding their historical data, how they are performing, their assessment scores, their vendor score, everything we will get in that. And the third point is it use the aggregated data from the vendor risk application and analyze that in the central location. So basically whenever we enable the vendor risk management plugin, then within the same workspace we can see the another tab as the risk. As you can see on the screen, there is one tab for the performance and another tab is for the risk. Whenever you install the plugin for the vendor management workspace, which is the part of ITSM, then it only shows the performance as a tab. But whenever you install the plugin for the vendor risk management, then the risk tab automatically get added in front of performance. So that is the basic introduction regarding the vendor management. Now let's discuss about the plugins and the installations. So as you can see on the screen, the plugin name is a vendor manager workspace and the plugin ID is sn underscore ITSM underscore vendor, as it is a part of the ITSM vendor management. And you can see I have written down some notes at the bottom of the slide, as starting with the San Diego release, vendor manager workspace legacy is deprecated. What I mean by that statement is there is one more vendor manager workspace is available, but that plugin ID is a different and that's get deprecated in the version of San Diego, and they introduce the new plugin ID with the new plugin name as a vendor manager workspace. And from go, going forward from the San Diego, we can use only vendor manager workspace and not that old vendor manager workspace. So that is deprecated, but the older versions which are already having that particular vendor manager workspace plugin already installed, they can use it. But from San Diego we can't install that older version. In the third slide I was talking about this actually. uh, this is the vendor manager workspace legacy and this is the vendor management workspace. So if you read the note here, that plugin name for vendor management workspace application and vendor manager workspace legacy application are similar, but the plugin IDs are different, so you can easily differentiate between these two plugins. This is the one which we can install and it is the new one from the San Diego, and this is the one which is the deprecated from the San Diego version. Let's move to the plugins part and we can check how exactly we can install that plugin. So in order to install that, you just need to navigate to the plugins under system definitions. So click on it, then it will redirect you to the all applications and the applications which we can install from the store. So just paste this plugin name here, that id sn underscore ITSM underscore vendor, and you can see this vendor management. You just need to click on the install. I have already installed this plugin and because of that it shows me update all here as well. So you can install this plugin from here. So now after installing that plugin, you can click on either these three dots and then workspaces, and from here you can see this vendor management workspace. You can either navigate from here or you can search in the application navigator as vendor, and then under the vendor management you can see the workspace. So just click on this, it will navigate you to the workspace. Now we will see the overview of the vendor management workspace, how exactly it looks like, what exactly the components and the widget it contains. Now before moving into the vendor management workspace, we need to understand one concept, that this workspace is built on the UI builder. So in order to make any modification within this workspace, you can go to the UI builder from here. It takes little bit more time as it has a lot of workspaces built on the UI builder. So once it loads, we can search our UI builder workspace within that. In the meantime, I will show you this workspace. So it's suppose if you wanted to make any modification within these components which currently you see on the screen, for example vendor by KPI groups or the new contract, then you can directly make modification from here. Okay, this gets loaded. Now we need to search for the vendor management workspace. So here you can see that the vendor management workspace, just click on it. Okay, and it gets open the workspace configuration here. So if you wanted to make any modification within the landing page, then you can see here the editor. You can click on this editor button. And from here you can see all the landing pages component within this workspace. Now you can see here one note as the read only. This variant has a protection policy. So in order to make any modification within this workspace page, you need to make the variant. You just need to make the copy of this particular vendor management workspace page, and then you can make use of that copy. You can't make any edit on this out of the box page. So you can do that as well. From here you just need to click on this duplicate variant, and then all the components from here get copied into that duplicate variant, and you can make any modification in that, and you can use that duplicate variant as the default landing page for your workspace. Now let's move to the workspace. So once we open the vendor management workspace, we can see this screen, and as I discussed already that this is a part of the ITSM vendor management plugin. So you can see only here one tab as a performance. If you install the vendor risk management, then you then the risk tab is also gets visible beside this performance. Now currently we are only discussing about the vendor management, so we will focus on that only. So once you open that workspace, you can see that one a note here is about my vendors, and it will show all the vendors for which you are the manager. So if I'm manager of this particular vendor, then that vendor KPIs get displayed here. Also all the contracts regarding that particular vendor get displayed here, which are created in last 30 days, as well as if any contract is will get end in the 90 days, will get expire in the 90 days, then also that contracts will get displayed here. And if I have created any improvement initiative regarding the vendor, then that is also getting displayed here. So if I click on this first vendor by KPI, so you can see that this actually this graph is clickable. So if I click on this, then out of uh, out of I guess four vendor, I just need to get Okay, so total four vendors are there, and from these four vendor, two vendors are get assigned for this IT services KPI group. So whatever KPI group I have assigned for that particular vendor, it differentiate the vendors on the basis of the KPI groups, and that KPI groups is having different indicators. And by using that indicator, we are generally calculating the vendor score. I will discuss that part in the detail, how exactly this configuration we can made, how exactly vendor score is getting calculated, and what they are actually using at the back end, the customizations, the configurations. I will explain that in the detail. I'm just showing here the general overview of the vendor management workspace. So in this video we will focus on that point only. So you can see that here the vendor manager is Gunjan, then the KPI group which I have assigned for this Yahoo and Max, it get displayed here. Also for the other vendors, the software group is assigned. So you just need to know that each and every vendor has only one KPI group associated with it. It is a one-to-one relationship. We can't assign many KPI groups to the one vendor. So you just need to know that. So then the performance score by vendor in last 90 days. So one graph gets show here, and it it will show us the graph for the vendor performance on the basis of this vendor KPI. Whatever we have assigned here KPI, it gets calculated the score on that, and it will show us the graph here for each and every vendor. Then the vendor satisfaction by the vendor. So vendor has having their vendor assessment as well. So whenever vendor as a assessment gets submitted, then that indicator gets run, and that indicator calculates the score on the basis of that vendor assessment, and that satisfaction also gets shown here. Then if you scroll down, then we can see there are other indicators as well. Then my vendors shows the list of vendors for which I am the manager. Also, there is a vendor score column as well, which shows the vendor score for that particular vendor. Now here we can see the top order items from my vendors. So there might be the different catalog items are associated with the vendors. So that count get displayed into this bar graph. Now, if we go to this performance, it basically shows the vendor performance on the basis of the KPI group. So you can see here uh, we uh, we are having three KPI groups, custom KPI groups created by me only. And if we click on each and every KPI group, and if there is any vendor performance associated with that KPI group, then that gets display here for this particular period. So we can change this date as well, and we can see basically the score for this vendor for that particular date in this way. So currently for the IT services, we can see this table for the vendor performance, and we can see here basically the all these things are associated with this KPI group: this vendor satisfaction, average SLA achievement, average availability, average customer satisfaction, average request activity, and the total incident created. So all these things are mentioned within this IT services KPI group. So if we suppose if there is any other KPI group, suppose software, then software might not have all these things. Software might have only these three things, that is vendor satisfaction, average SLA achievement, and the average availability. So it is the basis, on the basis of this KPI group, whatever we have selected from here. So if we go to this list, from this list we can see there are multiple uh, menus are created out of the box created for this particular vendor management workspace. So the first one is the vendors, and here we can see that my vendors, my vendor contacts, then all vendors and unassigned vendors. So This is the basic list which we can see on the any workspace as well. In the same format, the list get displayed here. So, and if there is any outage regarding for that particular vendor, then that's get displayed here. Then all vendor outage, so you can see all vendor outage as well as the outages assigned to your vendor, so you can see that as well. Then the contracts, if there are any contracts are associated with the vendor, then you can see that in my vendor contracts. Or if you wanted to see all the contracts for all the vendors, then you can click on this and you can see that as well. Then the incident, if there is any incident are created, then you can see from this incidents menu. Then the improvement initiative, if any improvement initiative created, then you can go to this tab, as well as the service levels, if there is any vendor SLA or if there is any vendor breach SLA. So you can get that information from this list view. Now this is basically just a quick introduction regarding the vendor management workspace. We will deep down into this, how exactly we can assign the KPIs to any vendor, how exactly we can calculate the score, how vendor score is getting calculated from from using the different KPIs as well, and all the parameters if you open any vendor from here. Then let me open it. You can see the performance tab is also displayed here, and the vendor score is loading. So how exactly the vendor score is dependent on this vendor satisfaction, how we can assign this weight, all these technical things we will discuss in the next video. So stay tuned for that. I hope you find this video as helpful, and do share it with your friends. Please like it and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.